This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. October 10th is World Mental Health Day, and this year we are saying thank you to therapists. BetterHelp therapists have helped over 5 million people worldwide on their mental health journeys. That's millions of stories and millions of journeys. Behind each one of them is a therapist who showed up, listened, and helped someone take that next step forward. Moments in therapy, like asking the right questions, having a safe place to get emotional or cry, or small wins, they can change lives. This World Mental Health Day, BetterHelp is honoring those connections and the therapists who make them possible while showing how easy it is to get guidance from a licensed therapist online with BetterHelp. I've been doing therapy for over 2 years and I couldn't recommend it enough. It's helped me so much with relationships with my friends, families, even myself. It's helped me understand myself better, and it's just made for such a better life. It really has. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. And it works with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for live sessions based on over 1.7 million client reviews. This World Mental Health Day, we are collaborating with those therapists who have helped millions of people take a step forward. If you're ready to find the right therapist for you, BetterHelp can help you start that journey. Our listeners get 10% off of their first month at BetterHelp.com/PFF. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PFF. Giants in Denver to take on the Denver Broncos. Where are we starting here? You want to talk about the Giants? You want to talk about the Denver Broncos?
Give me this Giants run game. And I know, obviously, Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo have been in the spotlight, and rightfully so, with the Giants winning their two of their last 3 games and running the ball really well. But they're also running the ball more often, and Brian Daboll has done an outstanding job of adjusting this team to Jackson Dart's skill set, to his offensive line skill set, and running some different schemes that really help out his offensive linemen. Now, he's pulled the binder off the shelf from 2022 when he had Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley and not a whole lot of receivers. They're running the football more often. They are running gap schemes a lot more often, pulling guards, power plays, overloading one side on tight ends, fullback snaps. And I don't have a fullback on the roster, so that's Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger, the tight ends, but lead blockers, really defining better the assignments that the offensive linemen and the lead blockers have in this run game. I thought there was 2 problems with their run game, Trevor, in the first 3 weeks of the season. Number one, nobody respected the quarterback. They did not respect Russell Wilson as a rushing threat. You have to do that with Jackson Dart. And number 2, they did not get to the second level. There wasn't a clear plan on a lot of their runs, and it was a lot more zone running. The first 3 weeks, it was 70% zone running, down to 55 there with a lot more power schemes mixed in. They didn't have a clear plan to how to get their offensive linemen and their tight ends to the second level in these gap schemes. And that's why even at the lower levels of football, Little League and high school and things like that, they teach them power and they just teach them ISO and things like that. So their assignments are so clearly defined, and guys are getting to the second level. Down blocks. If nobody's in my inside gap, go to the second level, get to the linebacker that's going to be in your inside gap. The puller pulls around. He hits the first thing he sees. There's such a more clear, defined plan for what the Giants want to do in their run game, and then Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo are taking advantage of that. It looks a lot like their 2022 offense when they made the playoffs. Yes, they're not that explosive because they don't have a ton of speed. Yes, they're missing Malik Neighbors. They don't have the downfield threat, but they're making positive plays happen. And that stuff rate stat that you saw in there was just over 13%. That's the percentage of runs that go for 0 or negative yards, right? That's right around 13% now the last 3 weeks. The first 3 weeks, it was 25%, Trev. They were losing or getting no yardage on 1 out of 4 runs their first 3 weeks of the season. Daboll changes the scheme. Dart's the quarterback. Scatterbo emerges. This Giants run game is a real threat.
I think the run game is going to be paramount for both of these teams. You mentioned how important it is to what the New York Giants are doing right now on the offensive side of the ball, and I agree with you. I think that is a very important part of what they're doing. On the Broncos side of things, though, they have to be better running the football. They're 27th in both running back team rushing grade and running back team EPA per play. So that's when you're just looking at the running backs. You're not taking into account what Bo Nix has been able to do with his legs. Designed runs, getting the ball in the running back's hands. They have really struggled to be a difference-making team and a difference-making rushing team in that regard. Last week, just 44 total yards on 16 combined carries from J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. It's got to be way better than that in order for them to be balanced. And especially, you look at last week, they were so conservative in their game plan, and they were so okay with just running the football and being bad at it that the Jets absolutely could have won that game. I thought that was just not a good game plan from the Denver Broncos, especially down the stretch. They're leaning into a run game that absolutely was not there, and it's got to be better for them this season. So It's got to start this week, I think. Obviously, the Giants have a really stout defensive line, but I think the Broncos have a good offensive line as well. They've got to be more efficient than they have been lately. But on the other side of the ball, what I want to talk about is also the Broncos' defensive line versus Jackson Dart specifically. You talked about what Jackson Dart's been able to do from a running perspective, giving them a multifaceted rushing attack, which I think is really important for this team. Clearly, Brian Daboll operates very well as an offensive play caller when he has the ability to do that, when the quarterback has that sort of threat to him. Broncos, 160 total pressures this season, most in the NFL. Jackson Dart, 49.2 passing grade under pressure with a time to throw of 4 seconds. When he gets pressured, he is hanging on to the ball for so long. Now, a handful of those plays, you actually credit the escapability, him keeping a play alive. That'll bump the time to throw up. I understand all of those things, but it's not a very quick operating system when he is pressured. He, to me, is playing more of the Madden style of what you do when you get pressured. And that is what? Anybody out there that's ever played Madden before, when you hike the football, you get to your first read, it's not there, you're getting pressured. What are you doing? You're retreating 10 yards, and then you're running to the sideline or something. Now, he's not retreating 10 yards, but he's doing the let me bail from the back of the pocket type of a thing. He's not necessarily stepping up in the pocket. He's not trying to get rid of the ball really quickly. He's hanging on to it. That's what he did at Ole Miss. That's who he was as a quarterback, and those are the things that hasn't gotten him in a ton of trouble yet, but it's also why he hasn't been lighting the scoreboard up, or the stat sheet up, I should say, with consistent passes down the field. That's something that's going to be a storyline to watch in this game, how he deals with pressure, because this has been the best team in the NFL at getting pressure on the quarterback at a time to throw like that. You're really going to struggle with it. I'm going to go with the Broncos here as well. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring. I'll go 23-17 with the Broncos winning this game here. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think you make a great point on Dart. And look, and I think he should be given credit because the receiving core without Malik Neighbors, they don't consistently get open, right? So he should be given credit, late in these plays for maneuvering the pocket and getting outside and running, and he's just doing what he has to do to try to make something out of nothing at times. If you had Malik Neighbors and the quick game was going better, we might have a different conversation. So he should get credit for that, and it's going to be a theme with this Broncos pass rush. How does Jackson Dart respond to pressure? Because there's going to be pressure. I also think the Broncos are going to come in with a very similar game plan as they did last week against the Jets. Neutral situations, 5 defensive linemen, base 3-4 front. You want to run through us, you got to get through this front wall, and we got man-to-man coverage on the back end with Pat Surtain and one of the best sets of corners in the league. So I think it's going to be low scoring. I'm with you. I don't love the way still that this Broncos offense isn't firing on all cylinders, but I'm going to take them at home. Their defense carries them to a win 20-13.